These fall decor ideas will transform your home into a cozy haven that you won't want to leave. Welcome to the Chic Show. Today is the Everything Fall playlist hosted by Lady Red Crafting, Our Great House, and co-hosted by I'm Merely Melissa. Be sure and check out their channels in the description box below, along with all of our talented playlists. I found this jar at the Goodwill bins, and I thought it would be the perfect little makeover for fall. So I took off the star. I'll save that for something else. I'm going to clean up the jar just a little bit, and then I used some Waverly chalk paint in pumpkin, and I mixed it with a little bit of white paint. I didn't want a bright orange. I wanted a lighter orange. So I'm going to paint the jar with this orange paint. It did take a couple of coats to get it completely covered. Once it was covered, I went back to the top and I used this fusion paint in Bayberry. Unlike chalk paint, fusion paint has a built-in primer and sealer, so it's an all-in-one paint. I used a baby wipe to wet distress the chalk paint on the jar. I wanted some of that lettering to show through. Chalk paint does need to be sealed once you're completely finished with your project. Once everything is dry, I'm going to use one of these wood stems from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to hot glue that to the top. I'm going to put hot glue on the bottom of the stem, and then I'm going to flip the lid over and add more so that this stem will stick up like a pumpkin stem. To start with, I'm repurposing a pumpkin that I made over last year. I believe it was from Walmart. So I'm going to be using these two paints, mixing it together and repainting the pumpkin. I also added back on that gold stem, and now I'm using some rub and buff just to go around the top of the pumpkin and hit some of those high areas. This project, I'm using one of these long wood pieces from Dollar Tree. Originally, it had Wild at Heart on one side. I had made it over on the back side for Christmas, so I decided to go ahead and paint over this original Wild at Heart side, and I mixed together a few different colors of paint, an orange, burnt umber, and a little bit of red to make this kind of burnt sienna color. And then I used my Silhouette Cameo to cut out Great Is Thy Faithfulness. The transfer tape did pull up the paint just a little bit in places, but I had already disposed of the paint, so I didn't even bother to touch it up. Probably should have waited on that. Nevertheless, this is a great little piece for around Thanksgiving time. I decided to use this summer sign from Dollar Tree, but I'm going to be making some changes to it. So I filled in those holes at the top, but I do end up taking that out later when I decide how I want to hang this piece. I'm going to cut off the handle, and I'll save that for something else. I might need it later. Now we have just this little straw part showing at the top. I'm going to remove that as well, and then we have more of a mason jar look. I'm going to be giving it a coat of Waverly chalk paint in Elephant. Now I'm going to paint over that elephant chalk paint with some DIY paint in crinoline. I am just painting the glass part of the jar, or what would be the glass part, and I'm just giving it a messy coat. Now I want to add some dimension and shadowing to the jar lid, and I am no artist by any means, so I'm just playing around with it until I can get it to look more like a metal lid. Using some more of that elephant chalk paint, I am dry brushing over the jar part. I think I did it a little too much, so I did go back with some of that DIY paint to soften it up a little bit. These 3 stamps are from IOD's Fruitful Harvest. I was kind of going for that farmhouse look where you see the cow and then the pig and the chicken on top of it, but instead I wanted to use these fruits and this acorn. So I'm just going to stamp these up with some black ink and place those down onto my jar. There's still quite a space after I do this acorn, so I do add something else there, also from the Fruitful Harvest. Next, I painted this little wood tag with the elephant paint and then topped it again with that DIY paint in crinoline. And then I'm going to be using some of IOD's Apothecary stamps to stamp on Happy Harvest. So I decided to go ahead and poke those holes back out and use this kind of rusty wire that I had to use as my hanger. Once I got it to the length that I wanted it, I just folded up those ends and just wrapped them back around that wire. If you buy anything from Iron Orchid Designs, I recommend the Apothecary stamps. They are just very handy. The letters are small enough for small projects, but large enough for larger projects. They have just really come in handy for me. I'm making a simple bow along with a little bit of raffia to tie on to the top of the jar. Once I've added the bow, I'll add the tag and rub around the edges of the jar with my black ink pad just to give it a little outline. And now this cute little fall harvest jar is finished. Don't forget to check out our host channels in the description box below. I know you're going to love each and every one of their channels, and check out the playlist as well. If you like anything you've seen today, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to reach 2,500 subscribers, and I'm going to have a huge giveaway. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.